What's up, everybody? This week, this is a throwback episode on the Barber Game podcast about home ownership and financial goals and everything in between. Y'all check this episode out and tell us what you think. Peace.
Welcome to the Barber Game Podcast. I go by the name of DJ Meek Chops.
Hey people, this is Mess.
What it do? This is Marcus.
What's good, everybody? This your boy Merv Mill on the check-in, and this is the
Barber Game Podcast.
Well, welcome everybody this week. We basically we came up with an idea to basically make a reference point to Instagram. I know that Instagram is a big influence on a lot of barbers these days. We talked about that in the past, but we specifically want to basically talk about some quotes referencing to a page called the Grandmaster Barber page. So if you're on Instagram, you can just follow along with what we're talking about by going at Grandmaster Barber. That's it. Grandmaster Barber. I'm going to grab my phone right now and start a conversation. We basically going to pick one of these quotes or one of these, statements off of here, and each one of us going to pick one, and we're going to talk about it and elaborate on it. And the one I'm going to go to is the most recent. If you are happy with your job, after you buy a home, you will feel like you hit the lottery. Now, I picked that one because I just kind of wanted to elaborate on it. First of all, it's the newest one on the page. When I think about that, I think of it from a certain perspective. I bought a home. I closed on my house in 2016. And now that I've seen the market change, I'm happy that I did it so early. Mm-hmm. I did an evaluation on my house and seen that it was worth a lot more than what I paid for it. And it made me realize how important it was for me to buy a house. I've always been driven to open up businesses and invest into businesses and all of this. But one of the biggest businesses that anybody, I feel now, after years, and, just kind of like, because business changes. Business could be going good. All of y'all are business owners. So from my perspective, business could be going well, then business could be going bad. The one bottom line of it is that you want to keep your business open, but also, you want to make money from a business, but it always don't work that way, right? Y'all agree?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So one thing that I know is consistent is you still gonna pay your rent regardless.
Yeah.
If you have a rent or if you have a mortgage, that does not change. You have to pay your rent. So from an investment standpoint, I now feel like every person that I know, I just want them to understand how important it is to buy a home and own your home. I think if you talked to me 10 years ago, I would say owning a business is more important. Now that I'm,
Wise.
Seasoned.
39 years old, almost 40.
Wow.
I just threw that out there. Just keeping it 100 with everybody. I just feel now, hindsight, I would tell anybody in their 20s, try to buy a house and buy a house. The process that it takes, now I could say that because of business, the process was probably a little more efficient for me because I had invested so much time into business and trying to get the numbers right. So the process was a little bit easier, but I had to work on my taxes. I had to make sure all of that stuff was lined up.
Yeah.
You guys are
The hardest part.
You guys know about it.
That's the hardest part.
That's the hardest.
The hardest part.
Getting the money, I feel like, we
Everybody
already know.
can do that,
Yeah,
right?
we knew that. We know we could do that, but yeah, the taxes and making sure your I-9s and all that stuff is right, that's definitely the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other part is showing how you got your money.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to see cash.
They
They
don't.
want to see a paper trail. So now you have to do
Deposits,
the
weekly.
weekly deposit. You have to have a business account and
Consistent.
and personal account, and you have to write yourself a check, as tedious and petty as it seems. You have to do it. Because you have to show 2 months, 3 months of bank
Yeah,
statements
thanks.
showing that you're getting a paycheck. Because we don't
Well,
we don't
yeah,
we
I
don't
mean-
get a pay stub. We don't have a pay stub.
Right.
We don't have a W-2 form. We don't have a paycheck job.
But yeah, I mean, so you have to establish all that. is
Exactly,
What you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah. It makes it easier for the process. Everything could be worked out.
Right.
Depending on your agent, depending on the company you go through.
Yeah.
I personally, I went through Rocket Mortgage
Yeah.
to buy my house. Shout out to Rocket Mortgage. I just didn't know no better, really. I just was like,
Let me try
when
that.
I got my crib, my wife actually talked about it. She
Yeah.
wanted to buy a house. I thought my whole life I wanted to cash a house out. I never considered
Finance it.
financing a house.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds,
Yeah.
I always tried to
Make enough to
that was just my mindset.
Yeah.
I never even thought about financing a house. And so when it was time to do it, I was just kind of freestyling it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we ended up going through Rocket Mortgage, and they made it very simple, but at the same time it was complicated.
Yeah.
They made it simple, but for me, I had to get shit together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because like I said, I freestyle my process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just for anybody that is thinking about buying a house. So, like I said, I've been focused on business all this time. And when I decided I wanted to buy a house, I was cutting the Seahawks at the time, and I remember Cam Chancellor telling me that the house that he was living in, he was doing a rent-to-own process, right? And I was like, why is he doing a rent-to-own?
Right.
But he was doing that because he had the option. He basically locked in a price to buy the house the whole time he was living in it. So if he wanted to buy it, he had the option to buy it if he wanted to.
At
And
the
then-
same price when he started.
At the same price when he started.
And then
So
also, I think we usually rent to own. Part of your rent goes towards
part of your rent, you can establish that, or
Yeah.
you can establish, in my case, the owner of the home wanted $18,000 for me to move into the house.
Got it.
So I had to give him
Like the down payment, basically.
for a down payment. So
Yeah.
usually in houses, you got to pay like, I don't know what,
20%.
the first and last deposit
Yeah.
to rent
Yeah.
somewhere.
to rent, but then
First,
it's like-
last deposit. So that would have been, at the time, I think he was charging like $2,000, something like that for rent
Yeah.
for my house.
Yeah.
And so, basically, he wanted like a down
Pretty
payment.
much the same thing. 'Cause you look at it now, it's like 3.5% for any type of
Loan.
loan, 30-year fixed rate.
Yeah.
That's without,
Right.
FHA or anything like that. They're going to want 3.5%.
But me-
18,000, you're like,
Yeah. I was
what?
like,
Yeah, like,
all right. Well, no, to me it made sense because I'm like, well, they got to sell me the house
Right.
if I want to buy it.
Yeah.
So because he made reference that's what he was doing at the time when I was, communicating with him during that time, I just thought, well, if he did it that way, I'm gonna just do it that way.
yeah, that's dope.
Not really even thinking about it though, right?
Right, so in hindsight-
I go and do it, and I didn't realize, but about a year into the situation, I realized because I had 2 years to make a decision whether I wanted to buy it or whether I wanted to just move out and go somewhere else.
Right.
So I didn't gave the 18. So I'm like,
But you lose that, right?
I lose the 18.
See?
That's what the problem is when you do a rent to own. They count on you
To
to
buy.
not doing
get
it.
it. To not get it.
To not get it.
That's
That's
they
what,
walk away with the 18 and
They
now
walk-
they can re-put it on the market.
Yeah, and they re-put it on the market. But man, this guy that was selling me the house he was hot. He was hot. Now I'm gonna explain all of this. So, when I bought the house, it was $334, right? When I closed on the house, well, well, when I moved into the house, it was evaluated at 334. When I closed on the house, it was evaluated at 420. Right, so the house had already went up in value. I had no idea that was even gonna happen. So when I was doing all of the deciding factors, we could have actually went and got a different house. I ended up getting a house without knowing, because I always like, well, we just gonna stay here until we want to buy another house. Again, not really thinking about a dream home or nothing like that. This is just somewhere where we gonna stay until we buy another house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I ended up closing on the house, and now today that same house is worth $730,
Wow.
and I paid $334 for it.
Yeah.
Right. So with me being honest with everybody, I just got to be honest and say I just happened to bump into that situation. I didn't know the housing market was gonna go like this, but I don't know if it's gonna go up moving forward. I don't know if it's gonna.
What goes up must come down. So
Yeah,
there's going to be a
it
crash.
may crash. It may go down again, but
But I don't think it's going to affect us in Washington State like that, like it did in Detroit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The last housing crash.
right.
In the 08
No, that
house.
was yeah.
Yeah, and I think Washington, sometimes we're in a bubble. It doesn't, certain things just doesn't affect us the same as in other states.
Yeah.
You know, we have too many companies, corporations here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's growing though, because
yeah.
Right.
I've been paying attention to last year. Everything in the area, Everett or whatever, it's up like 100,000. You know,
Yeah.
everything's growing, so it's
Yeah.
definitely everywhere.
Yeah, like
They're building condominiums everywhere too.
right, and
I'm noticing
apartments, and apartments.
Apartments.
Stacking them up.
Yeah.
Way better to get rent though. Think about it. It's like
What are you talking about? The apartment that's at Alderwood Mall where Sears used to be? Just for shits and giggles, so I looked it up. A studio apartment, 500 square feet, starting at 1,800.
Yeah. I think 2 bedrooms is like 2,800.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, so if you think about it, I mean, we can go our whole life talking about, all right, I want to open up a business. We, business-wise, we all inspired to do big business. We all want to make a lot of money, right? But one of the fundamental things to me at this point, and this is why I chose this quote, is I just didn't know. I would have bought a house a long time ago if I had known that how important it was. I've lived in a lot of nice places. I spent a lot of rent in places and just basically lost a lot of money over the years.
But it's a lesson.
Yeah. So that's my suggestion to anybody is if you happy with your job and you cool with working at your job for a long period of time, you can really stimulate your day-to-day work ethic and your mindset by just setting a goal of buying a home, right? That's just my perspective. I don't know how y'all feel about that, if y'all agree with it, but that was my explanation of why I chose that topic.
The one I was going to say is pretty much tied into that. It's kind of like you're responsible for your own success, you know?
okay.
Yeah.
And so, when you take these loans or whatever, mortgages, you feel like I got to go get it. So it's almost like ain't nobody really responsible. You took this $300,000 loan or whatever you took. So you got to show up to work and all that. You're responsible for your own success, and even if you're trying to get a booked out clientele, like you got to be there. Ain't nobody going to do this for you. So you feel more responsible to make that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you obligated for
You signed up for
responsibility.
it. You signed up for it. So.
And
Yeah.
people avoid those things a long time. They avoid responsibility for long periods of time, right?
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes
they like the comfortability of not actually being completely responsible for something.
I mean, ignorance is bliss, right? That's exactly
Pretty much.
what it aligns with. And if that's your narrative, then it's virtually impossible to live according to what you just stated, because once you're knowing, then you're like, it's just negating exactly what you just said.
You
Like,
can't take accountability and then give it back up. You
No.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you see it, you have to
Yeah.
address it. You know what I mean? So you kind of, you jump into a door that you can't go back out of. Once you take this loan, you are responsible for it. That, you know what I mean? So,
Well, I mean, obviously,
and you're messing with big money. You know what I mean?
You're just gonna lose. You're gonna
lose,
put yourself in yourself. You set yourself back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's basically
We may in this industry may not necessarily have an HR department, right? Or we don't have necessarily a boss that is going to give us a review every 3 months or something. But guess who's going to do that? Our clients. Our clients is our HR department. Our client is our boss. Our client is going to determine how much money we'll make. So in order to make the most, you're going to have to be, again, disciplined. You're going to have to, your appointment starts, your schedule is from 8 to 7, let's say. You're going to have to be there at 8 if you have an 8 a.m.
Right.
And you have to be there at 7 if you have a 7 p.m. You know what I mean? And if you don't, they're going to let you know, yo, no call, no show. Like, that's not cool. You're messing with my schedule.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a boss telling you that. Your client will tell you. And then
It affects you build
Yeah.
a reputation, you build a algorithm, basically, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
for your own personal life. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And people do talk about it. Like, they'll be like, yo, man, this guy never be at work.
Nah.
Don't
Yeah.
even book with him. Don't even worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It'd be even on Yelp and ruin your whole business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I personally,
You know what I find interesting, that we all looked at this page and we all picked a quote. My kind of line with both of it was like the one where it said, "It don't matter who don't rock with you, as long as you rock with you."
Yeah.
yeah.
It says, "If you rock with yourself, who cares who don't?" And it's like, you gotta have that type of confidence, especially in this industry, to first of all be able to do the two things that we just talked about.
Facts.
In yourself. Like, and coming up as a youngin', man, it was difficult. Like, coming up in New York City, understanding, like, you always get shot down. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you ain't shit, da, da, da. Everybody trying to do
Super
something. You know what I'm saying?
competitive over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we know how this industry is. So it's like, if you don't rock with you,
Yeah, because you could spend a lot of time trying to fit into, I'm going to leave this shop. I'm going to go over here because, I think this shop is better or whatever. All of that sound good when you thinking about it because you're in the situation, because you're so caught up in the work environment, instead of trying to make the work environment better to get what you want outside of work. That's what we talking about. We talking about, again, bottom line, buy a house. Mm-hmm. It keeps you not caring about what this guy's talking about at work, that making you want to quit every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let this dude voice make me go work somewhere else. You're going to go somewhere else and hear somebody else's voice that you don't like.
Right.
You're going to get past all of that when you're trying to buy a home.
Right.
Fundamentally, day to day is just going to help you.
Yeah.
It's going to motivate you. Then once you own the home, shit, you feel like you hit the lottery anyway. You ain't got
Right.
You could deal with the boy voice every day after that.
For me, it was actually probably the same, but keep it real with yourself if ever want to get something
see what
done.
I'm saying? I found it
Because-
interesting.
That's dope.
And because it speaks to me, because I say that all the time, even to my friends.
Wait, can you read that one more time?
Yeah.
Keep it real with yourself if ever want to get something done. Because for me, even with my friends, when like I asked them a question, like something deep or something, and I always tell them, like, you don't have to answer to me. I don't need to know the answer. Answer it for yourself. Think about it in your head. You need
Right.
to answer for yourself.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes a lot of people are not honest with themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
You can pretend with everyone else, but people can see through it. But
You
you
can't
have
lie to yourself.
Yeah. You,
Not at all.
and then
it's going to show when you don't do what you say you're
right.
going to do.
And then,
And by the way, you can lie to yourself.
but what I
Tell myself
what I'm saying?
ridiculous lies every day.
You know what I'm saying? You could really just
Yeah,
you
but
gotta
then
keep it. You gotta keep it 100 with yourself.
Then I've said this to
Right.
people, like, whatever you're telling yourself, please go look in the mirror and tell yourself and see if you can look up still.
Yeah.
Can you still look in the mirror and like look at your reflection, look back and not look down and tell that lie that you're telling yourself?
Right.
If you can't, be honest with yourself. Learn to be honest. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you can't get nothing done. You can't pretend only for so long, you know?
That's why I said I found it interesting. We all picked. We all was scrolling.
That's
I
funny,
scrolled
yeah.
through a bunch of these.
Yeah.
I try to go far away from.
Yeah.
And we all kind of like I don't know.
But
Everybody want the same things out of life. It's just some people, I guess, don't want those things. I think that even if you, my perspective is this: even if you don't want to own a home, right? If you try to get a house, you can open up a business easily.
with your house.
So instead of buying the house when it's time to close or time to actually follow through, everything that you had to do to buy the house, you can say, fuck it, I want to go on a vacation for a year.
Yeah. And
I just want to take a vacation for a year instead of buying a house now. You could do that.
that's
because
your goal.
Everything that you did, it takes that type of discipline. You know what I'm saying? And that you could be prepared to open a business at that point, if that's what you choose. You can,
Travel.
travel.
Live a little bit better.
Yeah.
And
You could save the money. You could just save everything and just say, all right, I'm going to continue to rent this apartment.
it could be your
Go
retirement.
buy a Rolls Royce if you want. You can get approved for that.
Just
I
the
don't know
discipline
that
alone opens up doors.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You got different habits.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
Did you know, by the way, if you lived in your house for 2 years, I think it has to be 2 years, and whatever equity grew from your house, you can pull that out.
Yeah.
You can pull that out as long up to
There you go.
up to $500,000, and you can get that tax free. The equity.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, that's why a lot of home builders always are moving, because they always pull out the money after 2 years.
And then they
Tax-
build another. and
Exactly.
rent-
It's
rent out the
basically
one.
you getting in a real estate business.
Pretty much.
You're a real estate owner.
It's
so you're in the business of real estate.
It's another
You know what I mean?
investment.
A lot of people don't look at it that way, but again, you're still a business owner. If you
Yeah.
own a house, you're a business owner. You
Yeah.
own a business.
Yeah.
You got to manage your business. Every dollar you put into the house is increasing the value. You basically, it's a big ass savings account. So
And then-
you can pick you could choose your battles out of life at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like
You can even 20 years down the line, you can pull out the equity and pay for your kids' college tuition.
cash it out. Like you can get
Yeah.
100,000. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? As long as you happy paying your mortgage, you can always get refinanced, take
Yeah,
some money out.
say refi, yeah.
It's so many things, so many benefits that come along with attempting
Yeah.
to buy a house.
Yeah.
That's the point of this episode. That's the point of this conversation for everybody, especially barbers, because we don't think that these things are obtainable a lot of times.
And we get discouraged by
Get discouraged by all the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By thinking that we can't get it because we don't have a W-2.
Well, yeah, those are the things that you should concentrate on. Simple.
Get a good tax person.
Yeah.
Talk to them about what I can and cannot do, and go from there. Just
It's good to have two if you can.
yeah, two.
One looking at other one's work.
Yeah.
Pick the best
I
out of
did
it.
the multi-level marketing. They had this one quote in there that said, "How do you eat an elephant?"
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? How do you eat an elephant? If I asked you right now, phonetically, just thinking about it,
I don't know.
how would you eat an elephant, Mess?
Probably start at the legs.
Yeah. Everybody got a different answer about that. Everybody got a different perspective.
I would think the legs, so they're not going to be balanced anymore. They're going to be flopping on their stomach, and their stomach.
I could tell you need to take your time with it, for one.
It said one bite at a time, so it's like that. I was like,
One bite at a time.
like, that's
Oh,
crazy. I was
okay,
like,
I guess.
bro. So
I was thinking-
if you look at it like that, though, like if you,
You
think
can't-
about that, like that's how buying a house is, especially on an independent note.
Yeah.
When you have a W-2 and all that stuff, the it's a little bit easier for you, as we explained. But when you're doing it independently, it just seems like one thing after the other, and then the money, and then the credit, and then the taxes,
Oh.
and the
My favorite thing too, while you're in the process, you can't use your credit. Don't forget about it. You can't use your credit, because the moment you use
Well,
it-
you have to use your credit to build credit, right?
Right,
But
but
when
that's-
you're trying to close,
in the process-
yeah, when you're trying to close on a house, now that's
no.
the worst
you
thing
can't
can do.
buy nothing with credit.
But
buy
again-
with cash, but not
But
a
you
credit.
could you could do a business credit because that does not show up.
Yeah.
That shows up on your DUNS number. It's called the DUNS number, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And then on that,
Yeah,
yes,
that's how you build credit. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the DUNS number.
the DUNS number. I learned a little bit like this much from the credit dude. I think his name's the credit dude.
Jose,
Yeah.
Jose the credit dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that dude's
he's good.
He's giving
oh yeah, look him
hella
up.
game.
Jose the credit dude.
credit dude. They had him on the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, yep.
He's dope. He's dope.
Yeah. DUNS number's crucial.
Shout out to Jose the credit dude. He's filthy.
Overall, I think we covered a lot of bases on that. Anybody want to add anything?
Nah, I think we're good. We touched on about everything for that.
Yeah.
We did.
So,
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody for tuning in this week. We trying to give $1 billion worth of game every time we
what?
get on here.
What does that mean?
Gilly.
Nah, shout out to $1 million worth of game podcast.
Yeah, fire.
Okay.
We inspire to do great things. You know what I'm saying?
Aspire.
Aspire to do great things. We get inspired and make moves. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Peace.
That concludes this week's episode. Tune in next week and check us out at thebarbergame.com.